Welcome to the webinar of KPMG and Celonis on leveraging the Celonis Process Mining in the value-driven S/4HANA projects. It's great to have you all in this webinar where we will make the topic for S/4HANA more tangible and using some practical examples, showing some demos, and even doing some polls. But before we go into the details, just have some rules of today. So maybe we can go to the next slide. As you know, all attendees are muted. There is a possibility for questions. You can do that via the webinar tool. So put in all your questions. We'll handle them after the webinar. No problem at all. We will also record this session and we will share that with you after the call. So you'll be able to listen in and spread also the webinar details to colleagues, other people who want to listen in. And as I mentioned, there's a Q&A at the end. As you want to have your questions fill in already, go to the GoToWebinar panel and you see there how you can enter those questions in. Today we have quite some people in this webinar presenting. So just for a short introduction, so my name is Maurice Oppertveld. I'm a partner at KPMG. I'm lead also the KPMG Lighthouse Data Analytics team here in the Netherlands. And I'm also part of the global Lighthouse organization where we have approximately 10,000 data science people doing work for our clients. And part of that leading also the Celonis partnership in that respect. Next to me, Elham. She's managing the global Center of Excellence for Process Mining, and obviously she's also a process mining expert. We also have Hitesh in the call. He's the subject matter expert for Celonis, but also for the S/4HANA projects we're currently engaged on. Boris, he's the subject matter expert for Celonis Process Mining at KPMG. And pleased to have also Christoph in the call. He's from Celonis, leading the partnership between KPMG and Celonis. So we'll have you on the spot as agenda calls that. Before we go into the agenda, yes, KPMG obviously really proud to be awarded with the Celonis Partner of the Year during the Celosphere early this year. It was in April. Obviously, this was a great encouragement for our global KPMG Process Mining Center of Excellence as part of the Lighthouse organization here within KPMG. And yeah, we continued obviously the deployment of our process mining portfolio also to the rest of the KPMG family in all member firms around the world. And next to the deployment, we continue to develop the Celonis apps. We have a couple of them already. We will touch base on that later on, like the RPA Scout or Lean Six Sigma. But obviously for today, we focus on the accelerators we have for the S/4HANA project regarding the process mining on Celonis. Agenda is packed, right? We want to give you as much as content as possible and to give you all the information you need in a comprehensive way for your S/4HANA journey. We'll start with some key questions we see coming in from decision makers on the S/4HANA initiative, but also how process mining can be leveraged in these kind of propositions for the S/4HANA journey. We'll touch base, that will be done by Christoph, on the Celonis Process Mining solution and give a short demonstration. And after that, we'll give a demonstration of our apps and our way of working on the propositions in the S/4HANA journey. Last but not least, we will touch base on our Center of Excellence, very short, and then we'll do the polling, the Q&A, and we have some call for actions to end with. So really pleased to give the word to Hitesh to introduce us further to the S/4HANA initiative.
Yeah, thanks, Maurice. So as we all know, S/4HANA is one of the key initiatives on digital transformation journeys. And it's really important then before we start talking about S4HANA journey to understand the context of digital transformation. So as you can see on the screen, our recent CIO survey suggests that to address the challenges and grab the opportunities from the digital innovations, in next 3 years, business is going to change, either refine or bring up with a new business model. At the same time, senior level management, like CEO, has shown their commitment for the digital transformation. So digital transformation is one of the key strategic topic for the enterprises, driven by the senior people. But at the same time, it is very important. It has been observed that the approach to focus on, the present context, which is like operating model, present operating model, complexities of the present businesses, and peculiarities of the present business scenarios need to be focused, and also simultaneously to focus on the outcome of business outcome in terms of business values in on the present context, which are aligned to the enterprise strategies. So this is something which is very, very critical. It has been seen as a kind of high focus area. If this is not given due attention, then there is a high probability of failure. So in the light of this assessment, what we understand that traditional approach of fact finding and discovery of information and so on and so forth could be more time consuming, more effort hungry, and also prone to human biases. Many times we have seen that traditionally when you have discovery sessions, we tend to have human biases when we gather these kind of insights on the present context. So what need is to have a more grassrooted approach, which brings more insight on the present context based on the actual facts and figures, and also demonstrate what a concrete and tangible business value the enterprises will bring because of this kind of digital initiatives, and specifically on S4 HANA. So if we move to the next slide, if you can see here the key questions which we have heard, and I'm sure some of you also would have heard about this kind of questions, and which reflect the same message which I talked about earlier. The first question is, how do we identify and the gaps and potential refinements of or from S4 HANA? And when we talk about this, yes, there are many tools and technologies available to identify the gaps and refinements based on the existing transaction codes used or existing functionality there already on the legacy system or SAP ECC. But at the same time, what business is expecting, how they can identify these gaps and potential refinements from S4 HANA on their business processes, on their complexity. So they are asking for a more contextual answer on this. The next question is on marginal investment. Now, when we talk about marginal investment, they are not asking questions only for licenses and hardware. Yes, of course, that's something which is a different topic, but they are also asking of investment which already been made, and by way of spending time, effort on reaching to a certain stage of harmonization, whatever extent they would have on the business processes, stabilizing of the business processes. They would have definitely defined some of the business processes, complexities, solutions, or workarounds. So they are saying, okay, what kind of efficiency which we have right now can be leveraged when we move to S4 HANA? They do not agree, obviously, saying, okay, when we move to S4 HANA, everything what we have is of no use. We have to leverage what is working fine, what is with efficiency, and so on and so forth. So that is one of the key questions which we are getting from the key decision makers. The next question is on the business value. Obviously, when you move to this kind of strategic initiative, the key question comes from the key stakeholders saying, okay, what kind of business value they will get on their business processes which are aligned to their strategies from S4 HANA. And they are also expecting answers saying to what extent it would come, and not just generic information saying yes, some of the KPIs in some of the LOBs or sector would enhance. They are asking specific tangible answers on each these points. When we move to the next point, which is on the evaluation of the business value realized, so they are also asking saying, okay, once we have S4 HANA deployed, how we can measure what business value we had thought of achieving it. What is the mechanism to measure it in a more tangible and without biases of human beings? So that's something which is another key question to be addressed. And then on a continuous basis, after deployment of S4 HANA on a core model or on the countries or in sites, how they can measure the performance of the business processes on a continuous basis and identify potential improvements, or if there is deficiency or inefficiency, how they can identify the root causes of it and address them. So they are looking for answers on each stage of S4HANA journey, and before even they embark on S4HANA. So I think this is really something which all of us need to think about and get answer for all of this. So if you look at the KPMG value propositions, we have achieved success on creating some insights leveraging Celonis Process Mining on each of these aspects. So let's start with the first phase, which is current state and vision. So using Celonis Process Mining value proposition developed by us, we can identify efficiency, inefficiency, bottleneck, and complexities in the business processes, or whether it's for a particular site, country, region, whatever is the scope of work. And then we can also identify, based on this assessment, what is the existing efficiency can be leveraged, and what are the potential simplification and refinements leveraging S4HANA. And for that matter, we use during the design and validate phase fit gap. Now this fit gap can be with reference to internal best practices. Many organizations will have their own mature business processes. Some of them would have been implemented recently, or some of them have reached to that stage over a period of time. So we are saying, okay, we can compare those mature business processes with other regions or geographies or LOBs and see how we can leverage that. That is where the marginal investment comes in play. And then external best practices also we can compare, like S4HANA best practices, industry best practices, etc. And third point, which is really differentiator from KPMG, we have KPMG Power Enterprise Solution Framework, which has got leading practices and insights across domain and across sectors with pre-configured solutions. So we can also do benchmarking and identify potential gaps and refinements leveraging our Power Enterprise Solution Framework. Now, putting all this together, we can definitely generate insight to address these three questions on the business value, on the marginal investments, and also the gaps and potential refinements. Now, if we just talk about a little more on the Power Enterprise to give you a context in the next slide. Yeah, so Power Enterprise is a, I would say, quite rich business value driven approach, and the solution framework. It has got predefined targeted operating model and industry best practices, as well as pre-configured solutions. So we can use Celonis Process Mining value propositions through our app or during the vision stage and validate stage to compare the actual business processes with the Power Enterprise leading practices and pre-configured solution. So this is just for your information as an accelerator. If now the next stage is on the deploy stage, so construct. So during the construction stage, when consultants and the key business users are working on the developing of the solution, we can have visibility on what is a transition from the as-is business process to be business process, and also we can use that app for monitoring the solution testing. So it's not just that we are using this insight during the design stage, but we are also continuing it and the insight which we generated during stage to monitor the solution build as well as testing. So that's something which is really, I would say, as a differentiator. If we move to the next phase, which is on deploy. During deploy, and this is really, I would say, strong value proposition, because many times we have seen when after we develop the core model on S4HANA, when time comes to roll out to the various sites or countries or region, there are various I would say approaches followed to identify the potential gaps or the gaps between the existing business processes and solutions and user adoption. But here during deployment stage, we can use the fit gap functionalities or conformance functionality of Celonis Process Mining and assess the complexity assessment of each of the site. We can assess the gap or fitment with reference to core model for each of the business process, each of the site, and also generate change impact based on this to input. So this addresses the question of change management and the potential risk from the deployment phase. So we are moving this Celonis Process Mining value proposition to deploy stage also. Now, once we have the deployment during evolve stage, and how do we industrialize this value proposition in the enterprise. And that's where this the apps comes in play. So on a regular basis, how can we measure the performance of the processes? How can we assess the efficiency and efficiency which on the business processes? That's where we use the PPI, which is Process Performance Indicators app, to measure how much the business processes across region LOBs are performing. We can also assess the user adoption before, after S/4HANA deployment, and then the potential improvement leveraging the root cause analysis. So if you put together all this insight, you can really monitor, on the overall basis how the business performance, how the process performance is contributing to the business KPIs. So that's on the evolve stage of it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So now, if we move to the next stage, it's on the Celonis Process Mining solution demo. I would request Christoph to take it from here.
Thank you much. I'm very excited to see what KPMG offering around this area, and I'm very excited what Boris shows next on the value proposition of KPMG for the S/4HANA migration powered by the Celonis Process Mining technology. Now, before we go into the KPMG specific offering on that, I would like to take a step back and see from a vendor technology standpoint how process mining works and what benefit it already can give it to you, and then we look more into detail how it benefits the S/4HANA migration. Every single click in the SAP system, in the Oracle system, ServiceNow, in any IT system is logged. So it's exactly in a big database in the background. We know exactly which user did what activity at what time to which object. And now we can put together all these timestamps that are generated every day by every click of the users of an SAP or Oracle Dynamics system, put them together and following the activity of a certain object, like a purchase order or a sales order or a patient running through a hospital. And along these activities for a certain object, we can reconstruct and visualize the business process, how they actually work. So no hypothesis, no assumption, just looking based on what happens in the back end, reconstruct them. So we don't have to ask people what they're doing all the time, or so very objective view. And if you go on the next slide, please. And around that, Celonis Process Mining provides a solution, and what it does, it's easily collecting these log files or the timestamps from the IT systems, and again, it could be across any systems, SAP, Oracle, Dynamics, Salesforce, and so on. So easily collect them from the IT system, reconstruct the processes, and also give you the option to do a drill down and so on. Now, this is the underlying Celonis technology. On top of this technology, KPMG provides certain apps that were mentioned before, like use case specific application that allows you to analyze and support a certain type of use case that you would like to analyze your process on, like the S/4HANA migration use case we see a little later. If you go next slide. Now, Celonis Process Mining is currently the world leader in the process mining space, according to Gartner, and has a lot of customer already. If you're looking at the customer, you see it's completely across any industry and across the size of the client. So it works from very small company, 300, 400 people, up to big corporations like Bosch, Siemens, ABB, and so on. If you go into the next slide. And the really fascinating thing is that it really has an impact, where our clients love to speak about that. They have video, and you can click on that. You have a big YouTube channel where you see all these statements and all the impact that process mining has on the process. And that is also true for the S/4HANA migration, which, by the way, one of the biggest use cases why clients actually subscribe Celonis or reach out to KPMG to get support. Now, what is this all about? And let's have a quick live demo. What I do now is change my screen to mine. And we have a quick look in the demo itself. So welcome to Celonis Process Mining. We select one of the processes. Again, as I said, it could be P2P, it could be order to cash, and so on. For this example, we take the OTC process. And when we jump in the solution, now it completely reconstructs the processes based on the log file. Again, no hypothesis, no assumption. Now we're looking at almost 1 million sales order running through the process, from receive order, confirm order, generate, deliver, document, ship the goods, send invoice, clear order. Now, the thing is, this is something that you assume, but you probably don't know or never find out about is that is only 1 out of 500 different variants of process deviation that the process can take. Now, let's have a look at the different variations. For example, in the second most frequent deviation after the confirm order, we have to extend the confirmed deliver date. So we cannot, or the company cannot keep up with the promise they put out to the customer. Another one is after receive order, we have a approved credit check. It doesn't have to be bad or good. It's just there. And in the last one I will show is after the ships goods, we have the goods is returned and we have to cancel invoice. So probably something wrong with the quality. Now we can extend that all to the full transparency, everything going on in the processes. Now this is probably a starting point for a S/4HANA migration. And if you're looking at that in the R3 system, you can also just select one example here of sheets, put them next to each other and compare different SAP systems and say, hey, what is the leading one? How do we want to move forward for the migration? And how we do that and how process mining can support that we are learning now from Boris in the next 5 minutes.
So hi everyone. I'm going to present you a couple of apps and the framework we have built here at KPMG to support the S/4HANA Journey. So this framework, we are built a couple of apps and it's still in progress. We are adding apps every day on it. We try to support the full journey from the current state and vision to really address the challenges Hitesh has been previously exposed about the understanding of the current state as is execution of business processes, and to figure out what is the efficiency of those processes, what is the complexity, and what we can gain as a business case assessment from the complexity and efficiency to build a new target, and when all can that contribute to the business case for the project. Then for the design and validation phase, we use intensively the process mining conformance features that could do a gap analysis between a to-be process, for instance, and as is situation. I will show you that later on. Then on the construct steps, Celonis technology can really be leveraged, especially to monitor business transaction, business scenarios monitoring during the testing and the business process transition. Then for the deployment, especially in the context when the deployment is done in multiple waves for multiple business units or multiple countries, and then when the core model is built within S4, the gap to the core model before deployment is very helpful, and also the assessment of the change impact, especially to size the effort of the change management and to uncover local gaps before deployment is very useful. And then at the steady state, to the evolve. So after the rollout, we see how we can monitor the PPI of the current business process after migration. Also focus on user adoption, because all the nice features and refinements, especially through Fiori apps, are usually taken into account to build the business case. And then from this point, we can really track the value realization of the project. So let me jump to in a couple of those apps to demonstrate how that works. So here in the current state in Envision, on the Celonis is really well built to assess the complexity. So let's go into the complexity assessments. Complexity level analysis. So here I'm assessing the complexity of a business process of a complete continental SAP platform, and I assess the complexity. The complexity is the variation of the business processes related to the size of the process flow. What I can see directly here, for instance, is that the country in Chile, we have only 3% of the transaction flow and more than 330 process variation. So maybe a lot of process variation in this country. So maybe a lot to gain by the standardization of S4HANA project, and maybe not a good starting point to build the core model on this. Here, if I compare it to Ecuador, I have 11% of the transaction flow on this platform and only 79 process variation. So the process is already more stable and more streamlined here. And maybe I have investment that have been done on this country to leverage to my S4 platform. Then on the other side, I have Colombia. It's very interesting, a lot of transaction flow and a lot of variation. So let me deep dive on it, these countries. Okay. And if I split it by company code now to see, to go into detail and to really see which company code are affected. Okay, so I have a lot of company codes with very low process volume, also low variation, but this one is a concern for me because only 25% of the transaction flow and 250 and more process variation. So maybe I could take this not as a reference, but I could take it into account to go further on my project. So now let's switch to another application. I will go back to my journey, and I really wanted to show you the fit gap capabilities. So during the design phase, when I build my target process, I build my to-be process usually with diagram and flowchart. So here, this is my to-be process. I upload it directly into Celonis Process Mining using standard BPM format, and I run the conformance check to figure out if how far I am from my target. What I can see here is for 25% of cases, I have already performing this process according to my target, but still there is a 77% to change. When I run this process according to my target, this is a good indication. I run this process in 4.6 days instead of 8.9 overall. So maybe by adopting this new template, I can gain on this KPI 4.3 days of process performance on this process. So let me go back to my journey. I wanted also to show you a couple of apps regarding to the evolve phase after the rollout, and how I can track and monitor, especially the performance of my entity, for instance. So here I'm monitoring a full SAP platform, continental platform in Central Europe, and So I can track, in fact, for instance, the efficiency, the size of my process, and the level of standardization against a reference. And what I can see directly here is that, for instance, in Algeria, I'm lagging a little bit in terms of efficiency against my targets. So Egypt is running quite well, and I'm pretty close to my target. But everybody, unfortunately, does not adopt correctly the S4 solution regarding the complexity, and still we have a lot of local variation and complexity of the process. And then the last application I really wanted to show you is about user adoption, because that's a kind of a big driver for S4HANA adoption. So here on this specific process, I'm assessing the ramp up, running different transaction, custom transaction, new Fiori apps, and standard transaction. So let's go to specific activities. Okay, here I can see in these specific activities I have many ways to run it. I can use the old Z transaction, and when I run the process with this transaction through these specific activities, the process is running at 107 days with this old Z transaction. The standard transaction does not perform so much as well at 99 days, but with the user adoption of the Fiori application, I can see that my process really speed up, and then the throughput time goes down to 49 days. But other insight I have here is that I have still people using standard and custom transaction, which is not the target on this.
Thank you very much, Boris. Hello, everyone. A warm welcome also from my side to this webinar. My colleague Boris showcased how process mining can be leveraged to accelerate and facilitate different stages of SAP S/4HANA journey. Please note how similar methodology and set of apps, as shown by Boris, can be leveraged to support any system migration. S/4HANA value proposition with process mining is one among multiple solutions that we have built within KPMG Global Center of Excellence for Process Mining. In this organization, we continuously detect new use cases for process mining and develop solutions for them. Using these solutions, we help also our clients globally to develop business cases for process mining and deploy it in their environment. We use process mining to analyze a wide range of processes, from back office and middle office to customer-facing processes. Since process mining is process and system agnostic, the opportunities and use cases for utilizing this technology are enormous. For example, we strengthen analysis and decisions made in operational excellence, or map and improve warehouse activities, or even production operations. We use process mining in line with RPA and intelligent automation. We leverage process mining for better compliance analysis of business processes, both in internal and external audit, and even tax compliance, and many more use cases as listed here, including healthcare, IT service management, and the list goes on. KPMG has also built a recommendation system using predictive process mining that helps clients adjust their decision on live changes in ongoing processes. Beyond the KPMG process mining solutions, we already offer new tailor-made solutions for any client and in any business. That brings me to my to the polling, perhaps, and then we will discuss the calling for action, that what you need to do for basically getting more information about each of these solutions. So for the polling, a couple of questions will be shown to you. So the first question is, what stage of S4HANA journey are you? You're not started, planning, roadmap started, we have migrated to S4HANA already. So let's see the result of the first poll. It's 44% not started, planning in the planning phase about 38%, and 17% already started, and only 2% have already migrated. Let's have a look at the second question. The second question is about the challenges that you see in front of you with respect to S4HANA journey. Too risky, we don't have a clear picture of where to start. We don't know what is better, greenfield or brownfield. Lack of expertise and expert resources on this topic available in the market. Business adoption for new processes. So it seems that one of the main challenges is the business adoption of new processes. I think that's why the monitoring apps and the user adoption apps on the evolving phase can help. For lack of expertise, yes, it's perhaps if you start earlier, that we face this problem later, because many companies will move to this area. So I think there will be a high demand for such experts. Then another challenge is we don't know what is better, greenfield and brownfield. Perhaps complexity analysis can help you to see where are the areas that and fit gap analysis can help you to see where are the areas that your company is already mature and have competitive advantage. So you don't want to throw it out and just keep it, but also leverage from the marginal investment. Then we do not have a clear picture of where to start. I think the complexity analysis can help a lot here. What are the areas that can be used as a core model, and what are the areas that needs a lot of standardization? So I think that can give you a better picture where to start. And too risky, yes, but I think we are building these solutions to support and facilitate and minimize the risk as much as possible. Let's look at the next poll. The next question is whether you think what's shown today and the KPMG value proposition for S4HANA journey would help you. Of course, we didn't have time to go into technical details of all the apps, but I think you got a feeling for that. So let's see if this is helpful for you, or what are the areas you need more information from us, and how can we help further. So it seems that the value proposition have been of value for you today, but you need more information about it. That's good, because then you can also then prepare sessions more in details with you for the deep dive sessions, and also perhaps more webinars on specific topics on S4HANA, like the different stages of S4HANA, to go into more details of it. There are some people who are not convinced yet, so we try to send more information so that to see whether they can leverage from this value proposition. And we see that also already are some companies already thinking of using it. And there is some groups, 12%, that have already some substitute approaches that can help. Let's go to the next poll. So if you consider to leverage from KPMG S4HANA value proposition with Celonis, what would you need to get started? You need a detailed explanation of the solution overview, or you need a deep dive session, or you need more information on the project delivery model, or other things that perhaps you can write in the questions. So this helps us to prepare next sessions and next webinars according to your request. So a deep dive session, I can imagine, got the highest vote. I think going into more details of these apps that we've shown would bring make you much more familiar with the topic and the added value. And of course, a detailed description of the solution overview. Project delivery model, of course, we will also briefly discuss it today. Perhaps it also comes in the question, so let's discuss it at the end of this polling. And if there are other requirements, please write it down in the questions so that we know how to, so we plan how to address those. Let's go to the questions now. I think the polling questions are finished. Let's see what are the different questions that are coming. Maybe we can those.
There are actually a lot of questions coming in. I can read them out loud and hand it over to the person. For example, really interesting one is somebody really liked the application and had the question: is it a KPMG tool or is it on Celonis? I think it's a two-part question. First of all, is the underlying Celonis technology like I don't know, Apple iOS, where KPMG created a really powerful application. Now, the second part of the question is obviously, Elham, to you, how can people access these apps onto technology?
Yeah, please. Center of Excellence for Process Mining within KPMG is a global team, so you need to contact us, and we will bring you to the correct team in KPMG and the correct member firm, the right team to help you. So, and we can organize deep dive sessions to go a bit more details of the solution overview and also discuss each app in more detail. So just we will send you contact data of us, and then please contact us and we will organize a deep dive session for you.
Thank you. Another question is around where do you see the largest potential for improvement when it comes down on the process level? So which process has the largest potential? Boris, since you did a lot of projects already through all the different processes, where did you detect the most improvement potential?
The most improvement potential for me, there's really two ways for improvement potential. You have the first axis is really on standardization. If you really have a core model or not, and what could be the target around. And the second improvement potential is on a refinement of bring by S4. That could be what is about user adoption, using of Fiori apps, and specific features or a refinement of S4. Hitesh, if you want to add something on this area.
Yeah, so in my view, I think as Boris mentioned, of course, one is whether the current situation or present context, as I mentioned, it depends a lot. If you already reached to a stage of maturity or you already having the state of harmonized or almost harmonized processes, then definitely it will have a lesser impact or lesser refinements. But what we have seen is the companies which have more complex business processes, various business scenarios, and they have not yet harmonized their business processes and business scenarios, definitely they are seeing lots of benefits of using this kind of value proposition to generate the insight. In addition to that, for sure, S/4HANA functionalities and features will bring the benefits, but those are coming from S/4HANA. Those are not really we can't identify them from Celonis value propositions app from our side. That's what I would add on it. You want to maybe Marco, you can add.
Yeah, I want just to add one contribution with regards to S/4HANA project. Most of our clients are currently adopting I would say, an accelerated greenfield approach to move from their current ECC system to S/4HANA. I used the accelerated one because those customers are already now running ACC and they are very much knowledgeable about the current status of their processes. The huge value that Celonis Process Mining brings into the landscape is that it's a kind of a bridge in between the IT and the business that helps the business understanding how new processes will change from the way they are actually executed in the old system, providing them with somehow an answer to the question, yes, but what is changing for the business due to the fact that S/4HANA is adopted? Okay. Thank you, Dash.
Thank you. There's another more technical question. Someone wants to know if Celonis says a process mining promise to show the full process end to end. What happens if the process doesn't not only happen in SAP or Oracle or ERP system? Now, the approach of the methodology behind process mining itself is always looking at the process from a business perspective. Where does it start? Where does it end? And then in the second stage, we're looking at how many and which IT system are supporting this process. Now, we can reconstruct across different IT systems by using the same mapping table that the IT system used to communicate with each other. The only limitation, obviously, if there is something that is completely manual, like a meeting happening and so on, but you still already see that there's a huge time delay. And the second question is always why is it non-visualized part of the process? Morris, there is a question to you. Can you show or can you share some client example where you applied process mining from a KPMG approach? And I combined two questions here and show a little bit more details or share a little details on the KPMG approach in this project.
Yeah, good question. Obviously, there are multiple use cases already and credentials you can share also afterwards. So a couple of types of engagements. Typically, post mining starts with we want to have a further understanding on the process and where there could be some efficiencies or we can use the system better. So that's typical question we get. And we have some nice examples of that where we go in and we can identify the also business case to use post mining, but also to work together with the client on solving some of those issues and within the process. That can be within SAP or Oracle, also now on Oracle. And interesting, what we see currently is that some of the organizations, they want to make the step towards what we call intelligent automation. And that can be a variety of new technologies where you can, let's say, efficient the process further. There can be robotics, there can be low code, that can be even also data management. Because a lot of those organizations see that you can't solve everything into an ERP environment because that maybe takes too much time from a change management perspective. And then they want to use these new technologies, what I mentioned, that RPA of low code. And then they ask us, okay, where would that make sense to use those new technology? And then we also come in with process mining like Celonis. And within a few days, you can already have a first understanding, including business case, which priorities of business process you should look into. At this moment, we are, for example, working with the organization where we set up the intelligent automation center of excellence, which is fully supported by process mining of Celonis. And you can make that really crisp to the business where the benefits are and what the business case is. So you can make really step forward and quick steps forward in that respect. So I can't mention the names here of the client, but yeah, a great way to see how that works out using process mining.
Thank you much, Morris. We're running out of time. It was a pleasure me. I would like to close the session with one more question to Elham, and please, Elham, if you can close it up then, because a very interesting question. It's looping to our last webinar. Somebody has covered, hey, when you like seeing all the activities and reconstruct the process out of that, can you not also like identify how automated the processes are, and couldn't that be a great support for RPA initiatives? And I think you have a solution, and I would like to hand over to you, Alan.
Yes, as correct. We have actually an RPA Scout solution, which basically supports identification of the processes or process fragments that are more suitable for automation, taking into account the complexity of the process, but also the volume and how many decision points exist at the process. So then we move to basically developing using process mining to basically recording the manual user behavior. So that's one component where we use process mining to help the RPA teams develop and configure bots according to these models. And then during the execution for testing, bot execution testing, bots themselves also generate logs. So we also use those logs to analyze further to check how the bots are working either in the testing period or after they go live. So we have solutions for the whole life cycle of an RPA basically journey. Yeah. So with that, I would like to mention again that COE for process mining is a global community. We have representatives from different member firms for over 25 countries in our community. Let us know if you want to have a deep dive session, or if you want to learn about upcoming webinars and upcoming propositions. Drop us an email and we will bring you in contact with the correct team in your country. And yeah, so let us know, and we will also inform you about the upcoming webinars and other solutions that we have built so far. Regarding the delivery model, perhaps, Maurice, if you can add one or two more sentences so that people know what kind of project delivery models we have.
Yeah, maybe we can close it down and then close down the webinar, I think, looking at the time. So typically organizations ask us, okay, how can we start working on process mining? First, I start with the statement that process mining is a mean, it's not a goal in itself. So we understand the objectives you have, but we see three ways of engaging. So one way is that we infused our, let's say, services to clients using process mining. So we use our own licenses as KPMG, and we can help you to get set. Obviously, that second, you can also buy the Celonis license yourself, and we can help you to implement it and also to achieve the business case. And the third option is a managed service option, where we have a longer period where we can help your organization to use process mining, and that way you can accelerate also the way you can use it. So those are the three delivery models. Obviously, more if you need more information, we can get provided to you. And I think that also come to the end of this webinar. So maybe I would like to close it down. I would like to thank everybody in this call. First of all, obviously Elham, but also Hitesh and also Boris, and last but not least, also Christoph from Celonis. So again, thank you for participation. We will send you the slides and also the call and the webinar recordings, so you can look at it in your time and share it with others if needed. Again, thank you, and speak to you soon. Bye.